On the devolution of the Crown Estate, the committee also expressed significant concerns. The Smith Commission could not have been clearer in their recommendations on the Crown Estate. They said, responsibility for the management of the Crown Estate economic assets in Scotland and the revenue generated from those assets will be transferred to the Scottish Parliament. However, the committee found that the draft clauses in this area would result in the creation of 2 Crown Estates operating in Scotland. Let me assure you, Presiding Officer, that was a revelation was a considerable surprise to the committee, not least those members of the committee who also served on the Smith Commission. Moreover, the committee took the view that the legislative approach to devolution taken in draft clauses could be construed as being overly complex and complicated. Accordingly, the committee recommended that the UK Government should revise its approach to devolving the Crown Estate. I welcome the work now underway by the Rural Affairs Committee in this area. On the constitutional issues, the committee has made recommendations that seek to strengthen the draft clauses in relation to the permanency of the Scottish Parliament. In particular, that a referendum should be held of the Scottish people if there was ever a suggestion that this Parliament should be de-established. We've also made recommendations in relation to the Sewell Convention, and this is an issue, as we all know, has become much more relevant given the new UK Government's plans to repeal the Human Rights Act. The proposals for further devolution will, if implemented, result in a fundamental shift in the structure of devolution, Presiding Officer. Lord Smith recognised the importance of intergovernmental relations in the foreword to his Commission's report. Throughout the course of the committee's work, the importance of intergovernmental relations was a constant theme, raised as a critical issue underpinning the delivery of further devolution. As a committee, we agree with Lord Smith that the current, largely non-statutory machinery of intergovernmental relations in the UK will not be sufficient to deal with the challenges arising from the proposals for further devolution. The committee recognises that for intergovernmental relations to operate effectively, there must be space for discussions between governments to take place in confidence. However, the general principles which will underpin intergovernmental relations and dispute resolution in future should, in the committee's view, be placed in statute. And central to any new structure or intergovernmental relations will be the role of this Parliament and, indeed, Westminster in scrutinising the actions of governments within this new structure. That will pose a significant new challenge to this Parliament, and this is an area that the committee intends to give further consideration to and thought about in the coming months. Presiding Officer, this report is the culmination of 7 months of intensive scrutiny, firstly of the Smith Commission recommendations and then of the draft legislative clauses produced by the previous UK Government. Now, I don't wish to sound conceited, it's not usually my style, on behalf of the committee, but the sense I have is that the report has been well received by a cross-spectrum of Scottish society. And in this age of digital parliament, let me cite 2 tweets in my defence. Firstly, from a former member of the Smith Commission, Professor Adam Tompkins, who many will know well, some in this chamber certainly will know well. He said, "I'm quick to criticise the Scottish Parliament when it screws up, but today's report from the Devolution Committee is legislative scrutiny at its best." At the other end of the constitutional spectrum, Dr Andrew Tickle of the Glasgow Caledonian University, perhaps better known to some as the author of the blog Lalan's Peat Warrior, considered the committee's report to be forensic, clear, constructive, and one of the best reports he'd seen come out of Holyrood. Now, I don't make these points lightly. That's a message as much for this Parliament as it is for the Secretary of State for Scotland in terms of the contents of this report. It's now the ambition of all of the committee to see both the letter and spirit of the Smith Commission report fully translated into legislative package in the coming months. If the UK Government is getting ready to fire the starting pistol by introducing the Scotland Bill next week, then my committee is saying that we're not yet at the starting line, so let's not have a false start. Let's try to get the legislation right at the outset of the journey. Presiding Officer, It was in that spirit that Lewis MacDonald, Linda Fabiani I met with David Mundell on Tuesday. We were pleased that he signalled an imminent introduction of the Scotland Bill and that he is planning to make some, and I stress some, changes to the bill before introduction, most notably on the welfare clauses. All three of us welcomed the constructive dialogue we had with the Secretary of State for Scotland, but we also said we'd reserve judgment until we see the actual bill, as there's still a lot of work ahead for the UK Government to get it right. We'd like to see as many changes as possible incorporated into the bill before its introduction. But if that's not possible, then the Secretary of State for Scotland has a responsibility to clearly articulate what changes he intends to bring or make via government amendments during the passage of the bill. Let's leave nothing to nuance or interpretation. We owe it to the people of Scotland to be crystal clear on what new powers are coming. That, I believe, Presiding Officer, is not just me speaking or other members of the SNP, but I believe all 5 political parties represented in the Devolution Further Powers Committee. And with that, I move the motion in my name. Thank you.